So I'm going to ask you today to really interact with this video, to kind of pause it, come back, because we're going to do a few things with this activity. So first we're going to do kind of like a free write, but a little more focused than that. So at the top of your page, and I encourage you to handwrite this. I did mine typing just because it's easier to kind of view it with you this way. But handwriting sometimes allows us to be more creative. So if you're able to do that, that would be great. If you prefer to type, I'm not there to tell you what to do. But I encourage you regardless, whether you're typing or whether you're handwriting, to put a letter at the top of your page, and I suggest an M, just because it's easy, kind of makes your hand go. When you forget what to write or you're stuck and you just don't know, just continue typing that letter or writing that letter. It's going to keep your hands moving, and sometimes just keeping your hands moving is going to keep your mind moving and kind of focus at the task at hand instead of just kind of staring off to space and going, I don't know what to write, which often happens, right? We get that writer's block. So go ahead and put that at the top. And then I want to talk a little bit about writing in the present tense and writing with imagery, two things that we've kind of talked about before. So writing in the present tense sometimes allows people into the moment with you. So instead of saying this memory as it's all past tense, you can use kind of the present tense verbs. And Amy Tan does this in Mother Tongue, you may have noticed. She kind of dips into the present tense and dips out. It's a difficult thing to do, but I think at this stage that you guys are ready for it. So we're going to try it. We're going to try writing about a room you spent a lot of time in as a child. This could be your bedroom. This could be a closet. This could be a room at your friend's house. This could be anywhere. It could be a room that has a really positive connotation that you loved. It could be a room that you kind of were scared of. It could be a room that you hated. Just something where it has some that you're really familiar with and it has some sort of emotion attached to it. So I'm going to ask you to be really specific and use a lot of imagery, right? Those 5 senses. So I'm going to have you write for 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'm going to have you come back. So pause the video, set a timer, and write. Okay, I'm assuming you did that. I'm assuming you have your writing now, and you're going to go back. This is my writing here, and I'm going to read it to you, and then we're going to talk a little bit about it. We're going to tweak some things in it, and then we're going to do some more writing. So here's kind of my memory, my experience, which is in my Grandma Ramirez's house. So I say, sitting in Grandma Ramirez's dining room, I feel the rough wool of the Mexican blanket scratching my thighs and feel the cat hair gripping my shorts. The smell of sopa bubbling on the stove gnaws at my stomachs, and I hear that pilot light ignite to warm up the beans made that morning. Grandma comes over and places a lead pottery bowl in front of me, and I smell the corn tortillas she's making in the kitchen, along with the pink Mexican bar soap she uses to wash the clothes in. Who washes clothes with a bar of soap? Mom never does that. But the smell is comforting, even if it is different. I smile at her and nod as she rambles on in Spanish, and I catch a few words here and there as I murmur, Yo sé and sí, abuelita. As she heads back into the kitchen, I look around at the disheveled room filled with newspapers stacked to the ceiling, dating back before I was even born. A half dozen broken radios are dismembered on the hutch with 8-track tapes and bright colors in Spanish words. My grandpa plays mariachi music in the background and sings poorly. He smiles and laughs at me with his yellow teeth from too much McDonald's coffee. I love him, but he's scary. And then he does it. He pulls out his needles to stab his flabby stomach in front of me. He refills the syringe a second time, looks at me and says, ¿Te quieres? No, gracias, I answer, terrified by the thought. He chuckles and laughs, pinches his skin, and stabs himself a second time without so much as a flinch. That's Mexican humor, scaring children with needles. My grandmother shuffles back and stands beside me protectively and scolds Grandpa in Spanish so rampant I can't understand it at all. My protector, but she's only as tall as me sitting down. Her smell lingers as she sets the sopita and beans in front of me with only the tortillas to act as silverware. All right, so you have your writing, I have my writing. And let's go back and look at our writing a little bit closer. So one thing is I have cleaned it up a bit for grammar. You probably noticed that. You've seen some of my flash drafts. So this is a bit cleaned up in that sense. But one thing that happens when I write is I write in these giant block texts. Like I don't even think about paragraph when I'm writing. I'm just kind of like going through like that cat meme. So I want to think about where are some natural spaces. When I think about narrative writing, oftentimes I think about spaces like a camera, like I'm looking, through, this is how they do it with a camera, but I'm looking through kind of a scene here, and it's like, oh, it's looking at this, and then it changes scene to this person, or then it goes to this room. So when scenes change, I oftentimes think that's a great place for paragraphing. So here, this grandpa comes over. So maybe here when grandma comes over, I'm just going to space it there. Let's do a tab to be all official. All right, who just close? Mama never does that, but smells comforting. And then I have some dialogue here. So I think that's a natural place for a break. And then she's going to head back into the kitchen. So I'm going to paragraph it there. I'm going to give myself a little more space here. Head back into the kitchen. It's saying that I need probably a comma there. I look at the room, all of these things. My grandpa play, he smiles, he laughs. And then he does it. I might paragraph this. I don't know. This is like stylistically because I want it to like stand out a bit more because this is kind of like the climax of my story. And it's like, he does it. He pulls out the needle, right? And I am terrified, right? And then it ends and he chuckles in this. And then I kind of like am doing more thinking. So I don't know. I think I'm going to leave that. Maybe I do my grandmother shuffles back in because that's kind of a new moment there. So here I kind of like paragraphed it. The other kind of revision that I'm going to do is a revision that is crucial and something that I think we all do as we write imagery. So I say things like, I feel the rough wool of the Mexican blanket, right, scratching my thighs, and feel the cat hair gripping my shorts. So that is imagery, right? It is descriptive, but I'm not using the strong verbs that I need to be using in my writing. So I'm going to take this sentence, and I'm just going to do this just for sake here. I feel the rough wool, but instead of this, I feel the rough wool of the Mexican blanket, I want the object to do the action. I don't want to be doing the action. So instead of the I feel, I'm going to delete that completely. So I'm going to copy and paste this sentence so you can see it. And instead, I'm going to take out the I feel. All that I feel, I smell, I hear, I taste, that's great for your first draft to get it down. But in revision, those are things that we want to be pulling out because those are really weakening your emotion. They're weakening your diction, and we want strong verbs. So instead of I feel the rough wool scratching my blanket, we're going to say the rough wool of the Mexican blanket scratches, right? We want to avoid those ing verbs. Those ing verbs are killing our story, right? And instead of I feel the cat hair, we're going to say, and the cat hair grips my shorts. Not only is this stronger, it's also shorter. You're going to notice with your memoir, I'm not asking for a ton of language in it, a ton of words, because I want it to be really strong. I also noticed when I was reading it out loud, which I am going to encourage you to do, I hear the pilot light ignite. That was really hard to read. So I might just like give myself a little highlight to know to go back later. So I want you to take a few minutes, read over your writing, make a few changes as I did, and then come back. So go ahead and pause and come back. Hopefully you have done that. Hopefully you've made some revisions to your writing as we kind of go through. And now we're going to do a little bit more writing. So now I have some instructions here that says, okay, now you were kind of in this moment. Now we're going to do what Amy Tan talks about when she really reflects on her writing. When she says, oh, thinking back now, I now realize, right, all of these things, because we all have those realizations as we grow up. So I'm going to ask you to write for 5 more minutes. Now what you think about that moment when you were older, right? What have you learned about yourself? How has that maybe shaped you as a person, perhaps your worldview? And so I wrote here, as I look back on this moment now, I realize I am in every way a Ramirez. I am both a protector and an instigator. My New Year's card last year displayed a picture of me with my 2-year-old daughter, Selena, wet and sobbing after she fell into a pond. I'm holding her and trying to comfort her, but I'm laughing so hard I can barely breathe. Babies crying and kids frightened are funny, yet as a mother, an American, I can see the line between torment and humor. I can't help antagonizing Selena that the Grinch will get her, just like my grandpa told me the kukui lives upstairs. But like my abuelita, I also gather the child and reassure her that all will be well. So I kind of take this moment, I think about what makes it bigger? How does it connect with who I am now? And that's what storytelling often does. It connects us as humans. And what does it teach you a little bit about yourself? Like, I could tell the story about how I learned how to ride a bike, and we were on a hill and I did it all day and I did it by myself. My mom said, "Do you want help? Do you want help?" And I said, "No, no." And I scabbed up my knees and I was bleeding and I just kept doing it. And by the end of the day, I got it, but I got it by myself. And that's very much who I am. I should ask for help more, or I should allow other people to help me more. But there's that feeling that I did it myself, an independent spirit that I also love. So I'm going to ask you to write 5 more minutes on your own for this. And hopefully our practicing writing together, you'll see a little bit of how your writing can use some of these techniques that we've seen in some of the writings that we have been reading as a class.